My name is Nathan Caldwell, and I thought I knew every move on my company's board, but I was wrong. One morning, an anonymous tip landed in my inbox. Board member Richard Halloway had quietly pushed for a poison pill clause in our corporate bylaws, a classic takeover defense, but in his hands, it was a weapon designed to strip me of control while inflating his own influence. The thought made my stomach turn. He was supposed to be an ally, a senior mentor who I trusted. Instead, he was plotting to take everything from me, legally but treacherously. I realized then that to survive, I would have to turn his own strategy against him. The poison pill clause wasn't obvious. It was buried in a series of legal amendments couched in corporate jargon. But a sharp eye and some careful reading revealed its true intent. If I or any insider tried to consolidate shares, the clause would trigger, flooding the board with Richard-friendly investors and diluting my control. I traced the emails and board memos. Sure enough, Richard had been quietly lobbying select investors for months. Every subtle vote, every small nod at meetings, he was weaving a trap. One evening, I received a call from an unknown investor. He's planning to use the poison pill against you. It's happening this week. I began discreetly gathering proof. Board minutes, email chains, and voting records all indicated Richard's intent to hijack the company. I made copies, encrypted them, and stored them off-site. A hidden memo surfaced in which Richard boasted to another board member, "Once the clause triggers, he'll be powerless. The company is mine." I realized the threat wasn't just legal, it was personal. Richard wasn't content with profit. He wanted total dominance and humiliation. I couldn't confront him yet. A wrong move could trigger the poison pill immediately. Instead, I started maneuvering in silence, quietly building alliances with independent shareholders, subtly hinting at the risks of Richard's aggressive moves. Richard had been secretly transferring shares to offshore accounts tied to friendly allies, another layer of the trap. A late-night email arrived from him. "You'll regret underestimating me, Nathan." I realized the only way to survive and strike back was to weaponize his own poison pill clause. Every document he had drafted, every secret agreement, became a tool I could turn against him. I compiled a dossier. Board emails proving his intent to trigger the clause. Evidence of covert share transfers. Investor agreements supporting him that were technically breaches under corporate law. This would allow me to trigger the poison pill, but in reverse diluting his control and exposing his schemes to the full board. I found a loophole. If the clause was triggered by any insider move, the board could vote to approve or reject it. With proper timing, I could make him fall into his own trap. Richard began accelerating his plans. He pushed a board vote to implement the clause immediately, hoping to force me out before I could act. I stayed calm, letting him take the first move. The more aggressive he became, the faster my counter-strategy solidified. I reached out to key independent investors privately, showing them proof of Richard's deceptive maneuvers. During the next board meeting, he smirked, confident. "Soon, Nathan, you'll have no say." I revealed to select allies a copy of his hidden emails and offshore agreements. Every attempt he made to paint himself as the protector of the company now looked like a premeditated coup. Investors began to ask questions. Richard tried to talk his way out, but each document I presented contradicted him. The board began doubting him silently. A leaked text showed Richard boasting, "Once Nathan moves, the clause triggers, I'll control every decision." I waited for him to make a move, and he did. He attempted a share purchase designed to trigger the poison pill. I submitted a motion at the same meeting to invoke the poison pill clause immediately, but against Richard and his aligned allies. The board was shocked. Richard tried to protest, but I had built a legal, airtight case. The clause was activated, but the terms worked in my favor. His shares were diluted, his allies lost voting power, and he suddenly realized the table had flipped. Richard's face went pale as the board voted to approve my motion. I revealed the emails, the offshore accounts, and the secret agreements to the full board. The evidence was undeniable. He had tried a hostile takeover for personal gain. Investors who had been wavering now aligned fully with me. Richard tried to spin it, but every lie was contradicted by facts. Regulators were alerted about potential insider violations, meaning Richard's actions could carry legal consequences. Richard was stripped of voting power, his aligned allies were neutralized, and the board publicly reaffirmed my control. The poison pill, once his weapon, had become the instrument of his undoing. I didn't gloat publicly. Cold precision was more satisfying than emotion. Watching him realize he had walked into his own trap, knowing that the law and corporate governance were now on my side, was revenge in its purest form, efficient and brutal. Our company thrived after this ordeal, stronger and more resilient. Richard's reputation was shattered in corporate circles. And every time I oversee a board meeting, I remember the deadliest moves are often those you don't see coming.
Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this, go watch the one on the left and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel for more tales of triumph over injustice and a saga of ultimate revenge.